America. The land of the free, and the home of the brave, and the batshit insane, as often the experiments concocted here could be summarized with 2 quotes. Murphy's Law stating that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and from the American classic Jurassic Park, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, that they didn't stop to think if they should. Of course, there's no greater example of this than the FEV, otherwise known as the Forced Evolutionary Virus, a project targeted by the government as a potential combative against bioweapons. Boosting the characteristics of mutations, the many variants of FEV helped in creating the ecosystem of creatures thriving in the wastelands today. And in this episode, we'll be looking at just a few of the affected specimens, the cold-blooded fiends. The Deathclaw, the apex of the apex, a monstrosity of science, and a true chimera, derived from the Jackson's chameleon before all morals were promptly tossed out the window in favor of genetic modification times 10. Such was the desperate attempt to create a new breed of soldiers, and in the end the Deathclaw reigned over what remains of the US today.
Deathclaws? Yeah, we've tried training them over the years. They don't take too kindly to orders. I think we've lost... Hey, how many people are here living in Nuka World?
I don't know, a couple thousand?
Are there really that many of us? Well, we've certainly lost at least 300 to 400 from Deathclaws alone in the past few years. Some were accidental, some intentional, but most were killed in our attempts trying to train them, or surveying them for documentary purposes. And seeing as I brought it up, where's Wrangler Ted? I thought he was part of your crew.
Ted is no longer with us. Power armor we gave him was also lost.
Is that supposed to be a joke?
When it comes to Deathclaws, there's a lot to still be understood about them, and finding out more is no easy task, as no 2 Deathclaws are exactly alike. Perhaps it's due to the horrendous genetic splicing that makes up the DNA. Maybe it's the exposure to the FEV. Maybe the fallout pushed the upper limits of the species. Or maybe it's basic evolution over time. Whatever the case, what we do know is that the behavior of Deathclaws can and will change, depending on location, sex, time of day, age, the amount of fights it's endured, or even how it's feeling in the moment. There are only a few select behaviors that can even be considered somewhat consistent across the board, but usually a Deathclaw can be seen displaying a strong territorial nature, a terrifyingly high level of intelligence, a tendency to nest in nooks and crannies as well as perch on slopes, ledges, and mountaintops. The use of their claws as both weapons and tools, with the capability to use them for hurling large objects at their prey, and displaying a bipedal nature. But of course, there's always a few outliers. We're here in Malden with Wrangler Mike, who claims to have made an interesting discovery.
This is Old Gullet Sinkhole. It's not a new place by any means, but we did find that there's a Deathclaw down there. We actually found out completely by accident. We were coming from one of the settlements, passing by, and one of our crew members, I don't know where he is at the moment, probably getting chewed out right now. Anyway, he ended up tripping and falling directly into the sinkhole, and upon surfacing from the waterfall, he found himself face to face with the Deathclaw. Now, we weren't surprised that he fell in. He's kind of dumb, but we thought for sure that he'd be dead meat. Yet the Deathclaw didn't attack. It just stood there, judging him. It was actually sort of depressing. You could actually feel that the Deathclaw was genuinely disappointed in him. What we found is that he's a fair is fair type of fella. You don't fight him, he don't fight you. Second you strike though, that's when you're fair game. Actually, I heard about a similar case like this on the radio recently. It's probably nothing more than rumors.
In our attempts to find out more about Deathclaws, we sent a crew to the Mojave Desert to talk with a local expert on what they've seen.
They're fierce creatures, that's for sure. You say you seen them running on all fours? Yeah, we've never experienced that here. Deathclaws here running you like witches, I'd say. It's like they're getting ready to strangle you. It's pretty rare to see them roaming alone here, but not entirely unlikely. There's just a larger pack mentality here. There was actually a rumor that swept through here a good while back, involving a group called the Enclave. Apparently they had delved into some questionable experiments. One of them resulted in a whole pack of highly evolved Deathclaws. Story goes that they formed a community of their own and were even capable of human speech. Pure nightmare fuel if you ask me. Guess the Enclave felt the same way, as they exterminated the whole lot of them. At least that's what I've heard.
Near-sentient Deathclaws are one of the most egregious examples of the freakish creations spawned from this species of predator, but not the only example. Here in Nuka World lies another, the Gatorclaw.
We're still working out just how many there are of the Gatorclaws, but we have been able to confirm that they're in fact a rare breed existing exclusively within the safari zone of Nuka World. The most likely source of their sudden appearance has been attributed to a Nuka-gen replicator somewhere within the safari adventure, but we've still yet to discover where it is or whether or not it's still actively producing more Gatorclaws. And with Gatorclaws, we've determined that there's zero chance of ever taming them. At least with Deathclaws, there was some potential in that department, but with Gatorclaws, yeah, no, nothing.
As the name suggests, Gatorclaws share some behaviors consistent with alligators, including submerging themselves in bodies of water, lying on their stomachs, and occasionally attempting to catch their prey by surprise. At least with this breed, there's potential for their kind to dwindle out in time. On the opposite end of the spectrum, remaining closer in appearance and behavior to the pre-mutated predecessors, is the gecko. A mutation of the pre-war gecko is what I would say, but some sources say otherwise, so we'll just go with some kind of lizard for now. The gecko is a migrating, mostly peaceful creature which can usually be found in packs. However, that peaceful nature has yet to be seen in our ventures, and the larger the pack, the more aggressive they're likely to be as they waddle viciously towards anyone they come across. Geckos are akin to nomads, wandering from place to place, settling down temporarily before moving again. Though despite this migrational behavior, geckos have only been sighted in the western United States.
Yeah, we get geckos come in every now and then and mess with our agriculture and water supplies. I see these times as a rising business. There's a fair amount of hides I can get out of it. Sell those off for good profit. All you really need is a varmint rifle. I'd say even a BB gun would be enough to get the job done. Shoot any tool from the shed should do the trick. I reckon you should be a bit more cautious when it comes to the other variants though.
And what makes the other variants different? It all boils down to how they attack. While the regularly mutated gecko will attack through lunging bites and swinging their claws, other variations of gecko will add a twist to their attacks. The golden gecko, for instance, fancies a bit of fine dining and toxic waste, which tends to introduce a small helping of radioactive decay to their attacks. Similarly, the fire gecko and the green gecko, due to surroundings and diets, have adopted ranged attacks into their arsenal, with the fire gecko spewing fire, obviously, by igniting the flammable gases in the digestive system as it escapes out the throat, and the green gecko spewing saliva infused with poison, lending to the notion that the diet must involve the ingestion of poisonous plants in the region of Zion Canyon. Now, unlike the highly adaptive gecko, another lizard didn't fare as well, as the iguana has failed to leave a lasting footprint beyond being a reliable source of protein. A shame, really. But that's all for now. And until next time, I'm Randy Cockett, And this is Follow Geographic.